anybody, and you didn't want to tell anybody. And that's why you said, I'm going to go to prison.
I don't.
That's 3 times now, Your Honor. Repetition.
All right. The objection is sustained.
Ms. Potter, you know the difference between left and right, don't you?
That's objected now. She's asked that before. It's argumentative.
It's not been asked, Your
The
Honor.
objection is sustained. It's argumentative.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Potter, do you need a break?
No.
Okay.
Johnson, Lucky. I'm just going to ask you a few questions. Do you remember your visit by Zoom with Dr. Miller? A little bit at least.
We had a Zoom interview, yes.
Okay. And that was Miller in Florida, correct? As far as we know.
Yes.
And you and me were in my office, correct?
Yes.
And that was the first time that you had ever seen any of the video, correct?
Yes.
And were you able to watch it?
No.
And you did tell Mr. Miller that when Wright pulled away and got back into the driver's seat of the car, which was still running, Potter, that you could observe Johnson and Lucky struggling over the console, and it appeared that Johnson was trying to prevent Wright from putting the car in drive.
Objection leading.
The objection is overruled.
If you don't remember that, because it was a while ago, I can show it to you to refresh your memory.
I don't remember.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Remain.
Read to yourself, Ms. Potter, the last sentence of the second to the last paragraph. Does that refresh your memory as to what you told him?
Yes.
And did you tell him that? Pardon me, I didn't hear you.
If it's in there, I must have. That day is so blurry.
Did you also tell him that you yelled taser, 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 so your partners would disengage from Wright?
Yes.
And just a few more questions here. Would it be routine, thinking back when you're a law enforcement officer for 26 years, would it be routine for you to unsnap your holster on the way to a car?
No.
And why not?
I'm only 5'3". If I would get into a fight, I could lose my gun.
Did you ever, in your career, shoot your gun at anybody?
No.
Did you ever shoot your gun in real life during your career?
No.
And did you ever shoot your taser during your career?
It was never deployed.
Is that what it means?
Yes.
And that would be real life. That would be when you have to use those weapons. That would mean it was an emergency situation, would it not?
Objection leading.
Well, what would it mean to you?
The objection is sustained. I'll put the phrase.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Judge. What would that mean to you if you had to shoot your weapon?
That I might kill somebody.
When you three law enforcement officers, and excuse me, by the way, as far as reporting this shooting, would it be Sergeant Johnson, your boss, would be the one that would be required to do that?
Objection leading.
Well,
Well,
rephrase
rephrase
it.
that. Who would be required, according to policy, to report the shooting? Would it be the shooter or the other person who was in charge there?
On that scene, it would have been Sergeant Johnson.
Because he was your supervisor, correct?
Yes.
Then I got a couple more questions. If you stopped a vehicle in Brooklyn Center and you learned that there was a bench warrant for a weapons violation, you learned that there was a temporary restraining order a female had lodged against the person that said he was in the car, that gave his identity, but he really did Mr. Wright ever give a valid identification for himself?
No.
And other office, now you've got no valid information, you've got a gross misdemeanor, you got a temporary restraining order, you got marijuana smelled by your partner, you got no license, no insurance. Would you let that car go if you went up to it and were attempting to handcuff the individual and the car, he jumped back in? Would you have thought you should let him go, drive down the street?
No.
On the temporary restraining order, if you learn there is a temporary restraining order, is it protocol? Is it policy to, as soon as you learn that, jump out of the passenger side, run up to the car and ask the lady what her name was? Has that ever been heard of in police practice that you know of?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all I have, Judge.
Is there any recross?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Potter, you were asked about some statements that you made to Dr. Miller on redirect, right?
Yes.
You also told Dr. Miller that you resigned on April 12th to protect your police family, right?
Judge, I object to this improper cross-examination. I never got into that. I just got
Okay,
into one statement.
Your Honor, the statements to Dr.
Yes.
Miller are at issue.
I'm going to overrule the objection, and you may answer that.
You told him that, right?
Can you repeat the question?
You told Dr. Miller that you resigned on April 12th to protect your police family, right?
If it's in the report, yes. I haven't seen the report except today.
Well, if it's in the report that you also said that they're very important people to you, would that be accurate?
Yes.
You have a very close relationship with the police officers, other individuals you work with or used to work with at Brooklyn Center, right?
Some of them.
Sergeant Johnson is a good friend of yours.
Judge, I object to this is outside the scope.
The objection is sustained beyond the scope.
You also told Dr. Miller that you don't make mistakes, right? You told him that?
If it's in the report, yes.
And you told him that you don't want to hurt or injure anybody. Right?
Right?
But you mentioned to Dr. Miller your relationship with the individuals that you work with, right?
Yes.
And that was very important to you, right?
Yes.
You advocated for their interests in a lot of settings, didn't you, for the people that you worked with?
I advocate for everybody.
You had a very close relationship with them. You referred to Sergeant Johnson as a rock star, haven't you?
I don't know when I would have done that.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Mr. Gray.
In all of your years there as experience in all of the patrols that you conducted, did you have to rely on your partners for assistance anytime you did a stop or an investigation of any nature?
Yes.
And that would be the family of the police department at Brooklyn Center, correct?
Yes.
And they were your second family, weren't they?
Yes.
As far as complaints, in the 26 years that you were a police officer, did you ever have one citizen complaint?
Objection, Your Honor, to the scope.
The objection is sustained beyond the scope.
I have no further questions.
Any turn to the cross?
No, Your Honor.
All right. You may step down.
Thank you.
Thanks, Russ.